beautiful people. Welcome to this full moon reading for September 2024, and we have drawn 4 cards for this reading, or at least I just did, with a lovely group of beautiful people that we share this reading with, and I'm going to share you what this reading is today. Hopefully it'll be inspiring in some way. As always, I'd love to hear your comments. This card is the first card, and I think because it came up on its own, the other 3 cards came, the one I'm going to share in a minute, came up all together. This is the most important card, and so it's going to call for us to dive in a little bit deeper, especially because it's reversed. So this 2 of Wands, if I were to give it a name or to give it a one-liner, this would be the card that reflects our relationship to purpose and our relationship to our own individual meaning for this life. And the holding of the globe and the holding of the wand and the feeling of that passion, that fire, and the vision of what we're going to do with it and how we're going to express our creativity in this world is what this card is about. It's about becoming clear about why we're here. It's about standing on the high ground of the home that we have built, whether that's a physical home or just a metaphorical home, and about looking at the world and our place in it from a higher perspective. And that means taking a step back out of the details, or rising up above the normal chaos of our lives and stepping into seeing what is the bigger picture or the bigger purpose or the bigger reason for us feeling like we are here. Now, there's such a mixed There's a mixed view about purpose and whether we need to feel purpose, a mission or a meaning of life, and whether there actually is a meaning of life or a purpose. And people will have different opinions upon this. But I have found at one time that feeling aligned with a purpose for being here seems to be a fundamental way to attach ourselves to our inner creativity, or it's a natural consequence of us connecting to our inner creativity, connecting to these wands, and it's a natural consequence of us really owning that wand and getting and asking ourselves certain questions. And this card, because it's upside down, it's going to call for us to ask ourselves certain questions related to why we think we're here. Do we know why we're here? Do we care why we're here? Is it important to feel a sense of purpose? Do we feel like we have a meaning? And these questions, throw at yourself, ask yourself whether they resonate at all, and see if you've actually asked yourself these questions. Maybe you have 100 times. Do it again. Ask yourself again, because, well, I've found at least that even though I might have felt a sense of purpose and connected with what I would have called my spiritual mission and been able to voice it 30 years ago, I've definitely not remembered that. I've definitely not focused on it, thought about it, had it at the forefront of my actions, been sincere with it. I've definitely been hypocritical, and I've definitely lost that connection with that truth many times, and sometimes for many years, to the point where I couldn't genuinely look at myself in the mirror and say, well, you're living your truth, you're walking your walk, aren't you? No. I would be probably afraid to look with honesty in the mirror and say, no, you are walking your walk. Saying that, there is a different perspective to the fact which I was just sharing also, in that we never really stop walking our walk. We never really step off the path, even though it looks like that we are meandering, even if it looks like we're backtracking, even if it looks like we've taken 1 step forward and 2 steps back, which sometimes it does look like that. Even the 2 steps back are part of our path. We might not recognize, it might not feel like we're heading or going in the right direction, but even the wrong direction is the right direction from a higher perspective. Even making unconscious mistakes and mucking up as many times as I have in my life has been a valid and perfect part of my journey. And it's not an excuse to make more mistakes. It's not an excuse to carry on and continue with unconsciousness. But it is an excuse to accept the mistakes I've had so that I can actually own them and take responsibility for them without feeling the weight of guilt and shame that surrounds it. Because whenever our judgments are connected to any actions that we may have made unconsciously in our lives, and when we judge ourselves for not being the people that we want to be, or not living up to the highest moral standards, or even any standards of life that we might have, we'll find that those harsh critical judgments will end up in us not looking at those mistakes as opportunities to learn. We won't look at that story, and they will become aspects or personality traits that belong in our shadow, that are locked away, and we actually don't get to grow from those mistakes. Whereas if we understand this other perspective, and I might say very honestly that yeah, I've made loads of mistakes and I've deviated from my path, in another higher perspective I've never deviated from my path. I've just walked a darker version of it, which has definitely been part of the path that's needed to find the light. And if you're in a darker moment of your life, tell yourself this: it's very important, and it's just as true as the truth that you're an idiot, like we all are, because we're all unconscious idiots wobbling around trying to figure out where we're going and why we're here. But if we find a sense of why we're here, and my mission statement has not changed in 30 years, but the way I've walked that purpose, or the way I have embodied that purpose, has been very different from one year to the next sometimes, and definitely one decade to the next. And that's the beauty. If you don't know why, and I was speaking to a good friend the other day, if you don't know why you're here, or you're telling yourself you don't know why you're here, maybe that's not true. I think we all know why we're here, and part of this wand being secured to the ramparts there of the house that we have is the fact that this creativity is secured. It's in your past, it's supporting you, it comes from your inheritance. You knew from when you were 5 years old, 7 years old, you probably knew why you were here, but there was not the consciousness to voice it, but there was the knowledge to grasp, there was the awareness that you could touch. And you have definitely touched it at one time or another. Have you ever voiced it clearly to yourself? Maybe not. But that doesn't mean that you don't know it. And a lot of the time we'll tell ourselves, oh, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what. Because we haven't found maybe the way we're going to live our truth. But if we ask ourselves, so what's really important for me? You'll find out you'll realize that you actually know what is important for you. You'll know what is the most important thing for you in your life on a sincere heart level. And with just digging and throwing a few questions at yourself, like simply that, what is the most important thing for me? What have I been attracted to over and over and over again? What does that mean about the lessons that I have to share? What is the healing that I have come here to do? Have I come here to do any healing? Have I come here to be self-aware? Is there any level of growth that I've experienced in my however many years of life? And is that growth part of why I'm here? And have the lessons that I've learned, have I learned any lessons? And are those lessons related to who I am and why I'm here? Yeah, they all are. And all of the lessons and all of the abilities and all of the skills that you picked up and all of the mistakes that you've made, they've all been part of why you're here. And if you just look at it, you'll realize, oh yeah, I'm here to heal these stories. I'm here to become a little bit self-aware. I'm here to share a little bit of light. I'm here to just help this world be calm. I'm here to give a little bit of, to share a little bit of peace and share a little bit of love with this world. Whatever, you'll be able to feel a truth that resonates. So this card is about finding it. And the cards that help this journey are these three. And we've got these two members of the court, the lower, younger members of the court, the page and the knight, and then the five of cups. These two members of the court of swords are all about those beliefs that are instilled first in our youth, these beliefs that we have been very open to receiving. And even though some of the beliefs that most of my content will help you look at may well be unconscious negative beliefs that might not help us, or might be challenging for us, or might create some coping mechanisms and trauma responses that don't help us in our lives, there'll be some fundamental beliefs that are instilled in us from a very early age that are related to our purpose. And definitely we can look at them and we can completely see what beliefs we hold according to what youthful experiences we've had that are related to why we're here. They might not be the beliefs that we have come here to share with the world, but they will be related to the healing that we've come here to share with the world, or the growth that we've come to realize personally and then consequently influence the world on a way of, in a positive, inspirational way. And recognizing what those themes are, what we have received and what we have picked up, and what we have, and how we have learned to find a certain sense of truth. And this sense of truth may have been received at a young age, but we might not actually be completely clear about it until we grew older and we learned to share that. If we are willing to go out and share that truth with the world, if we're willing to jump on our horses and blatantly voice our truth of why we're here, it's incredibly empowering. And it doesn't have to be a cliche, even though it might sound like one. It doesn't have to be something that makes us so spiritual and so self-important. It might be something very simple. It might be a truth. We might feel a purpose that's so personal and so individual that it touches other people without us even knowing it. It's not, maybe our mission or our purpose might not be to save the world, whatever, but if it is, it's about saving ourselves first, always. And all of our mission will always have an altruistic nature to it, with these beautiful white lilies in the corner. And it will have a very personal desire related to the red roses in the corner, where this marriage of altruism and personal gain are completely valid, and both need to be felt and met in this sense of purpose. But the real sense of purpose, which is not something that we're taught in schools, and it's not something that that even our parents teach us half the time, is something that validates who we are as human beings. And that validation is made up. It's made up by us. That validation is something that's very personal, and it might sound the same as somebody else. Our mission in life might sound exactly the same as somebody else. It doesn't matter. How we relate to it, how it feels real and true and honest to us, that's the important thing. And how we then voice that and share that, like the Knight of Swords, with the world outside of us, is how we bring a certain message to the world. And are we willing to do that? Are we willing to ride out there and be seen? Are we willing to share our beliefs? Have we communicated with ourselves enough to be clear about what the beliefs are so that we can share them? Are we aware of how our emotions might block this process, and how we might cloak ourselves in darkness, and how sometimes part of our message is going to be about how we have this tendency to focus on what we don't have instead of what we do have, how we feel so bad instead of how we feel so good. And this is part of a little bit of part of what the world is showing, how addicted we are to share what's wrong in the world, what's wrong in ourselves, how we don't like. We will share a lot more of that. We'll ride around sharing how many spilt cups there are in the world and forget how much beauty there is inside of our heart. We'll forget about the love. We'll forget about the joy. We'll forget about the fun. And it's a little bit addictive to share the sadness, the shame, the guilt, the judgment, the fear. And those are the emotions which are very good clickbait as far as social media is concerned. And yet our message will not be about that. It won't be about how we can save ourselves from fear. It won't be about that. Our mission will not be about how we can find out the key to all of our sadness. It will be about how we can promote most joy, and how we can share something loving without ignoring, without denying, without hypocritically turning a blind eye to our fears, acknowledging them, seeing them, owning them, and at the same time owning what gives us a sense of personal validation. Is this important? Is it important to feel a sense of purpose and a sense of mission? I feel it is. Not that it makes us special, not that it's going to give our ego a big boost, but so that we feel like we have a reason for being here. And that reason is going to be made up from one day to the next, but don't be afraid to do it. Make it up. Make it up every single day, and make sure it resonates with a mission statement or a purpose that feels aligned with your truth, aligned with something that you can personally connect with, and you have the courage to share and voice with the world. I'm here to shed a little bit of light on our darkness, on my darkness. I'm here to heal my own stories, learning to become a more whole consciousness and bring a reflection of light on this world. And I love you all for listening to my babble. Have a fantastic full moon, and I'd love to hear your comments and your mission statements. Much love.